Hello everyone, this is Mustafa Saik from the Different 7 channel, and in today's episode we have two startup investors, Ndeye and Dmitry from Brightmore, a venture capital firm investing in West Africa. Lila is a brilliant entrepreneur. She founded her startup and after a few years it became a success. The startup found a customer base and made money with plenty of room to grow. At that point, the business became investment ready. Now Lila is ready to receive the money and help of startup investors and make her business the next big thing. Today we'll be talking to Brightmore Capital. The group is managing a $32 million fund to invest in West African ventures and will help us understand what it means to be investment ready and how to communicate it well in this episode of the Difference 7 channel. Hello everyone, I'm Mustafa Saik, this is the Different 7 channel, and in today's episode we have two special guests, Dmitry and Ndeye from Brightmore Capital. Dmitry, Ndeye, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us.
So Dmitry and Ndeye are venture capital investors operating in the Western African market. And in today's episode, we would like to talk about investment readiness for entrepreneurs that want to work with guys like you to be able to, first of all, understand when they're investment ready and be able to communicate well. And I want to start this interview by talking about something that we experience in the West African market, both in tech and in SMEs. And that's the fact that a lot of investors do not necessarily feel confident in making that jump and investing in West African ventures, right? So from an investor perspective, what do you think brings that lack of confidence, that feeling of saying, hey, we really need to feel very certain about these people and maybe approach the situation by being worried from an investor perspective?
I think a lot of it starts with historical reasons. I mean, Africa has been traditionally outside the comfort zone of many investors who are now warming up to this continent. And even within Africa, it's the Nigerias, the Kenyas, the Ghanas, the Ethiopias, the English-speaking countries that have gotten the most attention. So within our Francophone sphere, now it's just starting to become more interesting to investors outside of the French language ecosystem. So it's a wide open opportunity for many.
Right.
And also that just joins what Dmitry just said. Actually, it's because we have neighboring countries like the giants, like Nigeria next to us and Ghana. And from a purely investor's perspective, it's more interesting to look for bigger deals in those countries, in Ghana and Nigeria, than to be in Francophone West Africa, where you have a myriad of small countries with less than 20 plus million individuals. So in terms of market, it is difficult for an investor to really see the potential and achieving that potential. But one of the things that we need to sell more is the fact that we have a common economic system and a common accounting system and a common law system, which a lot of these other countries taken one by one don't have. So that's where we need to sell to be able to have the same type of marketability from an investor's perspective.
That's absolutely important. I just had an interview in Gambia and we were talking exactly about that, market integration. But let's take this question from an entrepreneur perspective. Let's say I'm a startup today. Right? What are the common pitfalls that you see that in the, let's say, Senegalese market, that you see a lot of startup entrepreneurs fall into when they, approach investors in terms of, the way they pitch, maybe the substance of the company, all that stuff that really makes an investor say, you know what, I want to give this guy a chance?
Well, I think that if to sort of simplify and segment the market, there are two main categories we see. One is tech companies, which have generally one mindset and one structure, and then SMEs from other sectors of the economy, such as the food value chain, transport, etc. Within the tech ecosystem, what we get excited about is real traction. Not just someone who can sort of talk the nice talk, present well, and has a nice PowerPoint deck, but somewhere where we see that the operations are racking up, there are more and more customers, there's more and more hard traction. So that is something that, unfortunately, many tech startups still lack, but we get genuinely excited about when we see a business with real substance behind it.
Absolutely.
And also to add to what Dmitry just said, one of the things is also that we see as a pitfall is the startups or these SMEs sometimes do create product or services, but they don't ask themselves like, what is the need that they are trying to solve? What is the need or the pain or the desire that they're trying to fill? And so we feel like sometimes there is not a fit between the product or the service that the company, the startup is creating versus the market. And also, what is their differentiated competitive advantage compared to existing players? Like knowing your market, knowing your competitors, direct ones and indirect ones. We feel sometimes they feel like their product is so special or the service that they're offering is so special and nobody else is doing it, but actually no. Like it's a market. So somebody has been filling the need or solving the pain or solving that desire for these individuals or these companies before you. So that touch in reality also, we want to see more from the startup or the SMEs.
Let's say that there's an investor, an entrepreneur watching this right now and that's thinking, I'm going to make my first contact with Brightmore Capital. What does it take to make you feel excited on the first at the first impression?
The vision of the entrepreneur. Where does he want to take the company in the next 5 years?
Right.
I would summarize it, I would say 3 main factors. One is scalability, which goes right from the point of a vision. We want to see someone who has the vision and has a strategy of how to make this into a large enterprise, a regional champion. The second thing that we'd like to see is investability. And this is something we talked about earlier, is maybe things such as the governance are not yet in a perfect state, but we want to see a path where the business can be appropriate for us or down the road other financial players in the ecosystem to make investments in.
Absolutely.
The third and not the least important thing that we look at is impact. We want to see businesses where their core activities, by the virtue of the business running, that is generating significant social and economic impact. And this is one of the key investment criteria.
I want to talk about entrepreneurs being able to show their track record, because that's something that in our ecosystem is a conversation that needs to take place. How do entrepreneurs show efficiently their track record in terms of financial statements, revenue models, even their personal in terms of who they are, their track record. So what are the things that you would like to see entrepreneurs do more or do better when it comes to demonstrating that they have a strong business and that they are strong players for that business?
From the point of view of being prepared to talk to investors and being prepared to show track record, it's definitely okay that many businesses start out very informally, sort of, from the house, from the garage. That's actually like that in most places of the world, not the least being this region. But what we would encourage entrepreneurs to do is, whenever it's appropriate, to formalize as soon as it's appropriate, to start having an accounting system, to start generating financial statements. The more history they can show us of being a formal enterprise, of having revenue, of having solid accounting, the easier it is going to be for us to be convinced that this business has the substance and the backing behind it.
Absolutely. And when you look at, let's say, a financial statement, what is the most important thing that you're looking for? When we look at like a financial statement of a company, say, we're saying this and this is making us feel comfortable.
It's difficult to say this, it's one point, but we will say overall that seeing a growth in the revenues in the past 3 years is, for us, one of the first indicators that we do look at as a company in terms of traction. Have they been realizing revenues? Has it been growing? That would be one of the indicators that we do initially look at. Now, we do have our internal financial assessment of these companies that is much more complex and that takes into account a lot of indicators, but that's as first one of the indicators that we would look at.
Absolutely.
I think one thing I can add is also making sure that the costs are reasonable and appropriate. I think one thing that we sometimes see looking at companies is that even for very small businesses, the cost structure is just a little bizarre. And for things such as compensation, for things such as company vehicles, you have a very high cost structure for a business that really should be much leaner.
Absolutely.
So besides revenue, I would say that that's the second side of the equation that we also look at. I think also to add on to the revenue point, we want to make sure that the revenue that's being reflected in the accounting statements correlates very well to what we're seeing in the operations. I mean, if we see a disconnect between the real world operations when we do the site visit, for example, and the numbers in the accounting statement, that would make us a bit suspicious.
And with that, I thank you, Brightmore Capital, for coming on this platform. I'm certain that entrepreneurs that are going to be watching this will be inspired by the thing that you've said, and that tomorrow we'll just have better investors, better entrepreneurs, and most importantly, more progress in the Western African region. Thank you. Hello guys, this is Mustafa Sek from the Different 7 channel. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave us a like and hit that bell button. This channel is all about startups, startup investing, and the skills you need to be successful in that world. Stay tuned for more.